For joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, a little bit earlier on, we had Business Leadership South Africa in studio, and they were very excited about what they heard this morning. They said that this was consultative, yes, and they seemed very optimistic. So now I'm going to ask you, as someone who's studied economics, will this stimulate the economy?
So when we teach our students around a stimulation or a stimulus, we're talking about an injection of capital that will improve the aggregate demand. So what we have basically is that if you are sitting at 0.7% negative in the second quarter, will this stimulus lead us to a growth of about 1-2%? No, this is not a stimulus. As the Minister of Finance was saying earlier, this is a reprioritization of our budget because the state simply can't afford extending itself. Therefore, we are in an environment of fiscal consolidation. What is positive, what the President was so eloquent in saying, was the process of consultation both labor, with business and other stakeholders. More importantly, to retract their position, which Musebenzi's one as a Minister of Mining had pushed through. That has won quite a number of stakeholders, particularly in the mining sector, where we require huge amount of investment, and most of it comes from overseas because the portfolio investors coming from overseas had withdrawn their focus on that sector. So the message coming through there is very, very positive as a platform for a long term, not a short term where we wanted an injection for stimulus.
All right, so part of these equations is actually not even in hard numbers, but how you make people feel.
Very much.
In terms of confidence.
Very much.
And I wonder, has he done enough to inspire some confidence? Some of those investors that were sitting on the wall, some of those businesses that are keeping funds in reserve, has he done enough to give them the confidence to jump in?
So what he's done, he said, watch me. So I think a lot of them are going to say, no, let's watch. Remember what we're having here. We have a salad of people that were complicit in state capture, that sat quiet when we're saying our state is being repurposed. They watched and did nothing. The pressure by civil society organization as well as many other organizations where we eventually had a commission of inquiry through the public protector as well, lastly, the president signing it, the former president. So in that process, everyone is saying, yes, we like what we've seen. But you know what? We're here where we are today because of the very same ANC. So what's going to be different? So we like what we're hearing, so let's see the action. So how the president and the ANC governing party play their cards is the one then that will lead to investors throwing money into the pot. At the moment, I think it's good. We're all happy, we're feeling good, but we know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that have put us in this mess today.
And that was a question I was going to ask you, because I think there could be this temptation to blame President Zuma on everything. But many of the people that are in cabinet today were in the same cabinet that was working for President Zuma. So how do we get confidence that these guys are going to do something different?
Well, in fact, that was my point, really. The point being that until there's elections, when the president then is able to show his real hand, we'll be able to assess. At the moment, it's a feel-good statement. We're going to have a job summit coming, and then we'll have an investor conference. All these are going to be testing each other. Once the elections have passed, then that's why we expect the president to be very bold. How do we see that? The first litmus test will be the cabinet, the size of the cabinet and the caliber of individuals that are there. Because very clearly what he brought to me, what the president brought to me today, was really an appreciation that you need capability. That in his cabinet, the way you saw on the right and left, we had Pravin, we had also the Minister of Finance, and you can see that there's a team of pragmatists who understand the economy, who understand the investor community. The rest of the team that watched when our budget, when our state resources were being stolen, we had in 2007, we're sitting at about 28% debt to GDP. Today, about 53%. So those set and watch. When people are saying that, by the way, we're using public resources to build a private property in Nkandla, they said no, it's not the public, it is private. And later we discovered it was public money. So it's all these issues that I think us and investors are saying, you know what, we'll give the president a benefit of the doubt. Let's see the election. Let's see what he does thereafter, and then we'll support him all the way.
All right. So you keep saying after the election, and I just wonder though, it's been some time since he was sworn in as president. Are we starting to see the man, the president, and what he will be like should he be elected next year? Or do you think that there'll be another reformatting?
Well, I mean, we have a sense of who will be. I mean, he spoke so eloquently and, at the COSATU Congress in the past few days, and sending a message about who he is, and really pointing fingers within the ANC and its allies, that, you know what, we need unity. Those that are plotting against me will be dealt with accordingly. So that message is very, very clear. But I think the action, he needs a mandate. And that mandate will come from the people of South Africa, should they wish to vote for the ANC, and the ANC choose him as the president of the country. And then that process, the parliamentarians will sitting at the first sitting of the new parliamentarians will be appointed by us, then make the decision to appoint him. Then he'll show his hand. And I'm hoping that the hand will be the hand that puts South Africa first, not the ANC, but South Africa first. The noise that is made today around the stimulus gets come and true and is implemented. In that process, I think we'll have investors back and we can work harder and roll up our sleeves. But I think what is critical is also the outcome of the Zondo Commission, as whether those that are implicated, will they go to jail? Okay.
Lumkile Mondi, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much indeed for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that's Lumkile Mondi from the Witzer Business School sharing his thoughts with us, and he says it wasn't so much a stimulus plan, more a reprioritization plan of government spending. Talisa?
All right, thank you, Peter. Staying with business news now, COSATU says government and business